I just saw Animal. What the Hello, welcome to Cinemondo with Kathy, and I had to jump in here because I just saw Animal. Holy crap. There's a lot. So this will be a shorter, non-spoiler review. I'll do a more in-depth review with Melanie from Perdaisy Reviews, and we'll go fully spoiler on it because this movie was highly anticipated. It deserves a couple reviews. So, all right, I'm going to go full transparency. I love horror movies and I love violence in movies. We start off pretty soft because we see the background, we see some daddy issues. What happens with people with daddy issues, men? Toxic masculinity. Done. All right, so this is nothing new. This is a new film by Sandeep Reddy Varga. He did Arjun Reddy and then the remake Cover Singh. These were two films, basically one's a remake of the other one, of the ultimate toxic masculinity. We'll just go there. All right, so he definitely is very interested in exploring toxic masculinity and how it affects people around him. That's sort of his thing. Okay, I'll go with that. All right, so we'll start with it. I know what I'm expecting. I know what I'm expecting from this film. It's going to involve a anti-hero, which it did. Ranbir Kapoor killed it playing this character. He didn't have a ton of depth. Wasn't written in there. It seemed like it was mostly about the side effects almost. Like he had a toxic relationship with his dad, which made him then a toxic male who then inflicted this upon everyone around him. And it was mostly because he craved love and acceptance from his father. Hello, Godfather. Michael Corleone, same exact thing. All right. If we're going to go into this as a mob film, which is kind of what it was, organized crime, we concentrated on the son, just like Michael Corleone, compared to Godfather, even though, Godfather is here. I like this movie. It could have been half as long and been much tighter and probably a lot more exciting. And the people wouldn't be complaining so much about the lack of story because it would have just been a tighter, leaner, this is just a, revenge film. And I think that would have worked. But I think he really was interested, and I'm speaking of the director, I think he was interested in exploring more about relationships surrounding this man who wants to commit these ultimate acts of violence and then have his father love him because he's such a badass. Seems to be the main thing. Now, women in this film, I have to say, this is different from Arjun Reddy, is that she kind of gave back a little bit. She was strong. She didn't take his shit. She would forgive him, as a lot of women do when it comes to bad boys. We all love our bad boys, and you think you can change them, and you think you can heal them, and then you end up having kids with them, and then you're kind of feel like, oh, I can't because of the kids. She was stuck for part of this. She wanted to make this relationship work. He was impossible to make this relationship work because he was too damaged. But she would argue with him, and she would not take his shit. So I did like that, even though she forgave him and go back to him over and over again. That made sense to me. I don't think we were supposed to like VJ, which is a character that Ranbir Kapoor plays in this film. He's an unlikable character, but we call these anti-heroes because they're so fun to watch. They're very entertaining. The good guys aren't as entertaining to watch sometimes. I think the emotional roller coaster of knowing VJ's background with his dad, who was super hypercritical of him and that he never did anything right, and he just wanted to be loved by his dad. That lends it an emotional depth that it really wanted to explore, but didn't quite get there because I think it was also very interested in doing the violence, which I was totally on board for. The actors were fully on board with this movie, killing it, killing. Really strong performance by Ranbir Kapoor, really strong performances by Rashmika Mandanna, and she didn't have a ton to do, but when she was on screen, Ranbir Kapoor and her hot, steamy chemistry, they were great. I wish there'd been a little bit more about that. They get together, they run off to elope. They have this intense chemistry, great. They have this really steamy sex scenes, and that was another thing this movie is kind of pushing it on the usual setup for a lot of Indian films where they cut away and they don't show nudity and they barely show people kissing a lot of times, and not all, but very often. And it tends to get, cut away. This movie did not do that, which I liked because that made that seem more animalistic. It seemed like it was all about instinct, and that's what it was. So they have this hot, steamy relationship right at the beginning, and then she just kind of disappears. He shows up and he's kind of not too cool to her, and he's kind of an oaf, and he says kind of rude things. I liked that chemistry, and I liked the heightened element to the relationship. It made sense to me in the context of the film. So I'm not criticizing. I don't consider this. This is getting a lot of this a misogynistic film overall. This was about the men. Ranbir Kapoor really wanted this to work. He got super bulky. He seemed huge. He was big. He seemed tall. I was used to seeing, I see him in Brahmastra, and then Melanie had me watch Ye Jawani Hai Dawani, and that was with Katrina Kaif, and he was kind of a bad boy in that. He was kind of an asshole in that. So that was sort of the leveling for me. I saw Brahmastra first, where he was just the adorable cute boy, and that was all sweet, and he was ended up being a god and whatever. He was a little bit more leveled up of being kind of a jerk. Red flag. Do not get in a relationship with this guy. He's a mess. The whole thing was red flags about this guy. He wasn't as big a jerk as an animal. He wasn't a murderer, but he was not someone you want to get involved in. He was not there. So when I saw this was the ultimate to me. The next step, my Ranbir Kapoor journey is seeing him do the ultimate asshole, which he was. There's some story I'll get into with Melanie, but mostly this movie is a bunch of set pieces. So we have some downtime, I'll call it, where they try to develop characters, and then we had these set pieces that were spectacular. Now, there's been some complaints about the violence also, too violent. This is not too violent. There's yes, there was a super high body count. There was one graphic scene where an arm gets cut off and he's holding the arm, but it was very far away, and they handled it. I could see the tastefulness trying to happen. They were trying not to show too much. So it was a lot of kind of generic people getting mowed down by bullets, getting stabbed, but they didn't overdo it. You didn't see a lot of wounds. You just basically saw slicing and dicing and some CGI blood spray. But to me, that was kind of video game-esque. It didn't feel unwatchably gross. It was like, oh yeah, it's because it was just so much. So it was just like blood everywhere, blood, huge, and that was super fun. Thought they did a great job with that. I like the huge weapon that they designed. They made this huge giant weapon that's also in the trailer that you see that sprays bullets everywhere. It was very cool. Like almost like a chrome kind of work of art. That was great. They had some great set pieces. That led into the interval where you're like, holy shit, this movie's amazing. Then we kind of ratchet it down again and we do some more character stuff, which I feel like at that point they should have gone full John Wick and just had it be just action. It just should have been action. They should have cut an hour of it and just been him mowing down all of his adversaries. This was all about revenge. He was trying to get revenge on the people that tried to kill his father. I think the most shocking image was Ranbir Kapoor with big belly. He starts looking like Homer Simpson. I thought that was pretty creepy. All right, so you just didn't expect it. Didn't last for long, thankfully. We have a movie that presents itself as an action-packed John Wick, and then we have the daddy issues emotional fallout movie. Less of that, more of the action. Some people want more of that. Less of the action. I'd say more action. Just make this an action movie. The other highlight, Bobby Deol. So good. Like every scene he is in, he is nailing it. He's bringing humor. He just like almost like he's in another movie. He just transcends everything. He is somehow able to break through all of this in his very limited screen time, which they could have used a lot more of him. Great stuff. Very fun. He was fun to watch. I also thought it was interesting that we have Ranbir Kapoor, who has hearing problems now because of all his injuries. So it's hear no evil. Then we have Bobby Deol, who is mute. Say speak no evil. Speak no evil. The only thing they saw tons of evil. So much evil. So I thought that was kind of an interesting little thing that they had, that both of them had a way to block out the world one way or the other. There was some sort of deficit between them and the world. Bobby Deol carried this movie off when he was in the scene. So good. Now, when Ranbir Kapoor and Bobby Deol meet up at the end, that I wish there had been more of that. I wish that we had a bunch more scenes with them together, ratcheting up to the big final scene. I wish there'd been more. And then they even kind of pull back a little bit on this big gratuitous scene. You'll see it, big violent scene. They cut away again. I feel like if you're gonna go there, go there. Decide. Fully violent, gonna show it, go for it. You should just go super gore. I'm just saying it. Because a movie like Animal, why wouldn't you? Just do it. I didn't get a chance to do the full trailer because I had a vacation. Worst timing ever. But I had a vacation, but I didn't get to cover the full trailer for Animal. So I wanted to watch it, get a little bonus here. I'm going to do the quick reaction to the trailer and also kind of bring you into the feel and look of Animal as I do the review. So let's take a look.
5th स्टैंडर्ड में था और माइकल जैक्सन का कॉन्सर्ट हो रहा था बॉम्बे में. You knew what a big fan I was of Michael Jackson. मेरे सारे दोस्त जा रहे थे पर मैं नहीं गया क्योंकि आपका बर्थडे था. उसी दिन को रिप्ले करते. कुछ नहीं करना आपको. आपको बस पापा पापा करना है और मैं आपकी एक्टिंग करूंगा. ओके? शिद्दत से करना पापा. मेरा एक ही मौका है. ओके? एक्शन पापा. 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 सुनाई दे रहा है बेरा नहीं हूं मैं.
He adores you. तो उसके लिए सुपर हीरो. दिन में 10
The mullet.
नहीं दे सकते अपने बेटे को.
अब कट में है. पापा को
Yes.
छोटे बाल वाला हेयरस्टाइल पसंद
So
है.
much better.
आशा है कट. पर तुम लंबे बालों में भी अच्छे लगते हो. I'll grow it again पापा.
जब तू वापस आया तो मैं कितना खुश था. पर तूने जंग शुरू कर दी. और क्या वो?
टाइम बताएगा. मेरे पापा के लिए मेरा प्यार फेल है, पास है या दुनिया में सबसे फर्स्ट है.
मैंने बोला था ना ज्योति, क्रिमिनल है हमारा बेटा.
तेरे पापा के लिए प्यार जोक नहीं रोग है. I really wish he had died that day.
Ooh.
मैं वापस आ गया दादाजी. कहीं जाऊंगा. जिसने भी पापा पर गोली चलाई, बलबीर सिंह पर गोली चलाई, मैं वादा करता हूं अपने हाथ से गला काटूंगा.
That music.
प्लान करने से पहले मुझसे पूछ होता.
अब से 100 चीजें करूंगा. हर बार आपकी परमिशन नहीं दे सकता.
You're fighting ghosts in your head. Do you even realize that?
मैं घोष से लड़ता नहीं हूं, उन्हें कहा जाता हूं. आज के बाद एक खरोच भी आई, दुनिया चला दूंगा पापा.
That weapon is so fun. Bobby.
सारी दुनिया जला देंगे.
The scene. So good. That last scene where he's laying on top of Ranbir Kapoor, that's one of these great scenes where you're like, just cinematically, that was a beautiful scene. Just unique. The domination aspect of it. He's on top. They're facing away from each other. They both kind of look the same pants, same shirtless, smoking the cigarette, which is a running joke in the movie, which I really liked. That was a fantastic trailer. That also plays in the fact you see that trailer and you see how stuff cut together. That movie looks fucking great. I wish they'd done a little more editing in this movie. Now, let's take a look at the posters. There's a ton of great posters. We have this poster, which is a great scene. You saw it in the trailer where he's shooting the guy after he's already dead. That's great. That was a good scene. That's a great shot, too, from the movie. Then we have another shot, kind of composed from the movie. You have the gang behind him, and then him in his bloody shirt where he'd been doing some business. Let's say he's been doing some business. All right. Then this is, these teaser posters, which are basically they're just showing unit from the movie. They're not explaining it. They're just counting down. I'm just going through the campaign in general. Great character poster from the movie. Beautiful shot of her. I like that she's not making eye contact because that's sort of like her deal. De-escalate until you do escalate. Then you yell at him. Tell him he's an asshole. All right. Then another character poster. Great one of the dad. Right at camera. Like, this is probably the expression that VJ, Ranbir Kapoor's character, sees all the time. Just judgmental and judgy and disapproving. Then we have Oh, Bobby Deol. You saw him briefly in this. I mean, you saw him in the trailer. He was just a live wire. Just everything was so emotional. He was so great. Then we have this scene where they're still sort of getting along, but she's starting to be a little more confrontational. Let's see. You got to devour your ghost, right? And then, oh my gosh, I could have used more of this actually. This is the great romantic interval where they come in and this is the great romantic scene. The wooing her with the airplanes and all the rich boy shit. So good. It's fantastic. So I'm glad they're just basically pulling out scenes from the film. They're just selling it with scenes from the film, which is what you need to do. And we have the father and son not looking at each other, both looking off outside their grand house. It was sort of that they're together but not together. This image is basically the movie. This father and son not getting along at all. This is the movie I want. This is what I paid for. This is what I liked. Ranbir Kapoor blooding the shit up. So good. So great. And he's smoking that cigarette that no one wants to smoke. It's just really funny. Then we have the gorgeous rich guy with a cigarette and the sunglasses looking gorgeous. That's what he evolved. This is his mob boss look. Oh God, he's giving me mob boss here. He's giving me psycho killer John Wick here. He's giving me daddy issues. He's giving me boy toy. He's giving me like, what the hell are you trying to say to me? He's giving me like, I'm gonna steal that. Fuck. Overall, I liked Animal. I thought it gave me what I expected. I loved seeing Ranbir Kapoor like this. I think he has now changed his career. He totally made this work. Did not think, I mean, of all casting, think about people you'd want to put in this movie. Maybe Prabhas, maybe Yash, maybe. So you have these actors who've already established themselves as big action heroes. And then you have Ranbir Kapoor, who's like this cute romantic comedy guy who was kind of the skinny, cute guy. Well, now he's this big, bulky He-Man that was carried this movie, and he did a fantastic job. He was fully in it. He wanted this. You could tell he was loving doing this character, and I love seeing him do this character. I love it when you can tell an actor is loving what they do. Bobby Deol, always great. Not unexpected at all. Now, I also liked Rashmika Mandanna. I thought she was able to face off with Ranbir Kapoor in this character and make it work and feel like she was an adversary for him. I like that. The criticisms, we'll get into what I didn't like. It was way too long. I think because it's so long, people wanted more. They're like, I'm watching so much of this. Why? Give me more. And I think that's fair. I don't agree with the misogynistic comments. Not even going to go there. That's not what I want in this movie. Now, the other thing, more violence, make it more graphic, make it matter. Like if you're going to have violence, people getting shot, show it hurt, show the wounds, show the splatter, do it. Just don't hold back. Because your whole point in this is to make an animalistic movie. He's an animal. He's pure instinct. He's a beast. Show me that he's a beast. That's a movie where you don't need to pull your punch. Now, the other thing I loved was the post-credit ending. Please stay through this. The post-credit ending made me excited for part 2. And this is after 3.5 hours. Very excited about part 2. It's like, I would love it if part 2 comes out and it's half as long and super like, I got exactly what I wanted. I wanted action. I wanted John Wick. I got John Wick and The Godfather. So I'm going to do a more in-depth review with spoilers with Melanie, and we'll talk a lot more about it. You're seeing a big star like Ranbir Kapoor. You want a little more charm. He did not bring the charm. He was not being charming at all. He was being an asshole. And that's the point. I think that was what he wanted to do with his career too. This is a career move. I'm seeing an actor evolving right here. So I say good for him. I feel like he's going to get a lot more consideration for more broad roles than he is used to. The music in this movie blew me away. They have a great scene where there's this whistling during the scene where he's on the move and you just hear it. And it's so odd, and it odds what you're thinking. You think these big action, music cues would be happening, but this really diverse, cool music. It was like, I feel like it was a soundtrack I wanted to own. It was unique, and they had to be different for everything. It wasn't like, here's our soundtrack and this is what we're going to use the whole time. And then there's a big, major, epic, finale scene with lots of action, and they have this kind of ballad. It was such a cool choice. So I love that they played around with the music and did something unexpected with that. Oh, that was fantastic. I'll be seeing you again. I just wanted to get this down really fast because I just saw it. And I was actually really excited to see it. And let me know what you think. Okay, you guys. I'll see you later. Bye. fuck out of this movie.